I am our animal's interpreter. In other words, when I know what Daisy is thinking, so for example, when we walk her, I know she's saying to people, "Oh, I am cute, huh? You want to pet me, huh? Huh? Huh?" So a couple of years ago, our daughters and my wife were out. It was at a horse ranch barn, and they met a pet psychic, and Daisy was with them. And they put Daisy into the arms of the pet psychic. They said, "Could you please ask Daisy what she thinks of the voice our father does for her?"
From NCPR, welcome to Northwards. People, ideas, and conversations from and about Northern New York, Vermont, and beyond. I'm Mitch Tyke.
Support for the Northwards podcast comes from the J.C. Steinaker and M.E. McDonald Charitable Fund at Adirondack Community Foundation in support of the Adirondack Community Foundation, building stronger Adirondack communities. I will say that you forced me to listen to over a minute of that song, and I still didn't recognize it. It took forever for the hook to
Say
come
what
in.
year that's from? It's like 1983,
1982, 83, something like that. Before I was born.
Like if you took the...
1979.
If you took the vocals out of it, you'd have a smooth jazz song.
I wouldn't take the vocals out of it, and I wouldn't do a thing with it. Where were you in 1979?
I was turning 10.
What was that like?
We went to, on my 10th birthday, we went to a George Washington University basketball game. They played the University of West Virginia at the Smith Center in downtown Washington. And I believe, if I remember correctly, I'm trying to think, I got one of two possible gifts. One of them might have been a tennis racket. One of them might have been my first 35 millimeter camera, and I think it might have been my camera. It was a Nikon EM.
You don't still have it.
My child has it.
Oh,
Not this child that's sitting in the studio with us.
the other child.
Sad to say, the child that is pursuing photography as more of a vocation than the child that is in the studio with us, who is not really a child anymore, but she is my child.
I had much simpler interests when I was 10. I hadn't yet discovered that I was going to become a lifelong music obsessive. So it's entirely possible that most of what I got for my 10th birthday would have been Star Wars action figures. And I think Star Wars Episode 1 was just about to come out, so I probably got a whole bunch of Star Wars Episode 1 action figures.
Can you turn on the other microphone in the studio?
I could.
Because I'm about to share something from my 10th birthday party that I believe my daughter Sylvie Tyke. Sylvie, hi, how are you?
Hello.
Yeah, you'll appreciate this part, and it's going to set us on a whole different digression.
Okay, we're going on a journey together.
Love it.
We are. So I turned 10, right?
Yeah,
And
in 79.
In 1979. And aside from getting my first camera and going to the basketball game, the one detail from that party I remember was the mom of one of my friends coming to pick up her son. Okay. And saying, and I quote, so you're double digits now.
Oh, no.
And I don't think it dawned on me what a huge step going from single digits to double digits was at the time. And Sylvie is wondering who the friend was, and she is going to be delighted to hear that it was my friend Eric Fromm.
Oh, see, I was thinking it was the friend's mom who I've met and am obsessed with.
Oh, no. This is
Eric Fromm.
Eric
Yes,
Fromm is a
the
legend
pen, yes.
For being a friend of mine who performed the following activity when we were in 5th grade together.
Okay.
So you remember those Bic ballpoint pens? They're like clear plastic
of course.
ballpoint pens. They've got a little plastic cap on the base of them, so that theoretically you could replace the
As if anyone was ever going to do that. Yeah.
Well, Eric was really good at taking that cap off and sucking the pen onto his lip, until one day in Mr. Roberts' 5th grade class, somehow there was an issue with the ink cartridge inside that pen.
Oh, no.
And by sucking the pen onto his lip, it actually sucked all the ink up and covered his face in blue ink. And that is a story I've been telling literally since 5th grade, which would have been about 1979.
And Eric will never live it down.
I haven't talked to Eric in years. I've heard he's an attorney someplace, I think.
Well, I was really excited when we found your high school graduation program and Eric Fromm was there.
Yes, we found recently. I came across the program for my high school commencement, which was on June 10th, 1987.
By the way,
Shout out June 10th.
By the way, that sound was Sylvie chewing pizza.
Oh.
Radio station etiquette 101.
Well, you
this
turned on
episode
the
of Northwards
microphone
is
while I was mid-piece.
Mid-Pete's. Yes, Northwards. This episode of Northwards is brought to you by Little Italy in Canton, New York.
So, not too long ago, I discovered that most of the yearbooks from my high school career are digitized in an online archive, and so you can go back and look at what everybody's superlatives were. And I don't know if your high school did this, but ours did. They had like you would put like a little bio next to your photo, and it was like
This when I was a senior.
Yeah. Just when we were a senior. And the things that you'll miss, your favorite song, like your future plans or whatever.
Did you have
Senior
a yearbook quote?
I didn't have a. Did we have a yearbook quote? I don't think the yearbook quote was a part of it. But I was looking through and I found the biography from my friend Kristen, who's now married to my friend Mike, and her future plans. I just sent me into gales of laughter. Her future plans were as follows: do whatever, then die. Which is,
I imagine she's lived up to half of that.
She has lived up to at least half of that. She's still alive, and married, like I said, married to my friend Mike. They have a beautiful son together.
Mike, who she calls whatever.
Keep it PG.
This is Northwards After Dark, okay? Yeah, what was your senior quote?
It was,
Wait,
and
I
this
know
will
what
this will surprise no one, but Sylvie can go ahead and share it with the world.
Wait, objects in mirror are closer than they appear.
That's exactly what it was.
That's lame.
Mine was take the risk or lose the chance, said by Roman Bardet.
Yeah, Sylvie quoted a French cyclist, and I quoted the passenger side side view mirror.
Sylvie, yours is very similar to Michael Scott's.
Yes.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yes.
Wayne Gretzky. It's Michael Scott.
Well, and the reason I went with objects in mirror are closer than they appear is it was actually in a Far Side cartoon.
I love the Far Side.
And so we should link to this cartoon somehow from. Do we have a website?
We do have a website,
Okay,
and the
so
Far Side has a website.
They do. So
we can find it.
Anyway, it's just a picture of a mirror that says objects in mirror closer than they appear. And in the mirror is this gigantic eyeball.
Did you know that Gary Larson has started doing comics again?
I did. I think we've actually talked about that on this program.
Conversation on this very program. Anyway, who are we talking to today, and what is their senior quote?
I don't know. I bet he had an interesting senior quote. We're talking to Scott Simon, a famous NPR person, Scott Simon.
I've heard of Scott Simon.
Scott Simon, host of NPR's Weekend Edition Saturday, and author of a number of books. It's funny, I reminded him of this, I think, before we got the tape rolling, but maybe not, that I interviewed him about a biography he wrote of Jackie Robinson. And
I was going to say, I know that Scott Simon loves sports.
We both cringed a little because we recalled that his biography of Jackie Robinson came out in approximately 2001.
Ooh, and that feels like a really long time ago to you?
Yeah, it does feel like a really long time ago. I had graduated from high school by then, so the objects in the mirror had gotten even closer.
You had also graduated from college by then.
I had graduated from college. I had gotten married. Did not have any children to interrupt me.
You're the one who said, Sylvie, come on in here. And then you said, Ethan, can you turn on the other microphone?
So I interviewed Scott Simon. He has a new book out about his life around animals, mainly his pets, and some pets of people that are special in his life. And on one hand, it seemed like an odd choice for a book from a very famous journalist and radio host, but in another way, it kind of feels like his memoir with the animals as kind of a vehicle to learn about different points in his life, and it was really a pretty charming book called Ulysses S. Cat. And other animals I have known, I believe.
Okay, so let's hear it, and then we'll talk about our pets.
Scott Simon, it is a real pleasure to speak with you.
Oh, my gosh, my pleasure, Mitch.
So I really enjoyed this book, and a question was coalescing inside my head as I read it about how, in a lot of ways, It feels like you used the animals in your life to craft a memoir. And then I finished the book and got to Susan Orlean's blurb on the back, and I thought, I can't ask that. He's going to think I only read the blurb, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Did you envision this as a memoir by animal?
No, I did not. And I must say it was the publisher's idea. But I think you, if I might, I don't say this a lot in a sentence. I think you and Susan Orlean are very right.
If I had a nickel for every time someone said that.
Because animals are one of the many ways in which I think we mark milestones in our lives and the periods that we go through in our lives and the experiences that we have. And I know, for example, when we constantly review the childhood of our daughters, much to their embarrassment, it's the Leona years, it will be the Daisy years, it will be the Gato Blanco years, and they're members of our family. There's no doubt about that. And so we remember them, and I don't confuse human and animal relationships, but we remember them as vividly as I think we do siblings.
Well, I feel like I have to ask you this because it's a regular occurrence in our household. Do you accidentally call your animals by your children's names and vice versa?
It's happened. What can I tell you? But Mitch, people like you and I who interview people, we have a lot of names that we have to keep straight, okay? Every now and then, there's a little error. Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned Leona. I read the book, and Leona still sticks with me. How did Leona enter your life?
Well, she came up to me on the street. I did not know then until we saw a sign that she had actually been cared for by 3 interns at the British Embassy who had departed, and she'd slipped through a window. And this was Saturday after my show, our show. And so I kept her through the weekend. And then when I finally got a call on Monday from a nice woman who we later became friends, Jane Brown at the British Embassy, she explained, she said, Scott, I think that little cat walked up to you because you should make a home for her. But, and she said, you must rear her as a British cat. And so we did. We put, pictures of David Beckham over her food bowl. I would get Manchester United banners when I traveled throughout the UK or Europe. And she was just a wonderful member of our family. I should explain, as a number of people know, my wife is French. So there was a little War of the Roses tension left over every now and then. But we love Leona. She was great. And it is an important part of our family life together that Leona would come to each of us, each membership group in our family in turn when we went to bed. So our youngest daughter, Paulina, she would see off to bed first and crawl up with her until Paulina went to sleep. Then she would go into the bed of our oldest daughter, Elise, and curl up with her until Elise went to sleep. And then she would come back into the living room where Caroline and I would be watching something or reading, and she would sit with us until we were ready to go to bed. So it was the nightly rounds that she made, and I think she saw it as her responsibility, and we saw it as our blessing.
You describe Leona's last days and also the last days of various betta fish and Hoppy the grasshopper and Neil Simon the turtle. What does it tell you about the pull that animals have on us, that we welcome them into our lives knowing they're not going to be there forever?
It's part of the agreement that we make, that we will see them through until the last. And it has a way of crystallizing our thoughts, and for that matter, making us confront as we grow up the circumstances and certainty of our own mortality. But I think we do understand this is going to be part of the experience, and it's also part of the richness that we have in our relationship with them. I hadn't quite realized, actually, until writing the book, this is coming to me now, how many of those scenes I would have to go through. In a sense, relive again. But I'm glad we did it.
Well, and each time you've come back for more, if you will.
Yeah, yes, exactly. We let a decent period of solace and mourning pass, and then we bring another animal into our lives. I must say, the betta fish, that was when our oldest daughter Elise was quite young. They disappeared alarmingly quickly. And so much so that I could not bring myself to tell Elise what had happened. I would go to a pet store to get, to get a betta fish that looked like the last one is very difficult, as I don't have to tell you, Mitch. So in any event, it was finally my wife who said to me, darling, I think this is part of why we have the betta fish, because we're trying to explain mortality to Elise. So, and then we told her, I'm afraid salmon fishty was what we named each and every betta fish that we had. And I, finally said, baby Sammy, I'm afraid died. And Elise said, we can get another one.
Elise works with animals now, abused.
Elise works with animals now.
Yeah.
She's the hardest working person I know. Yeah.
Well,
she had an internship at a place that worked with wounded horses, and she now works at a barn where she cares for horses. She teaches riding, and she cares for injured horses. And she's got a big, beautiful heart, which I think in many ways has been opened by her experience with animals, and she carries it on with her in life.
I think you preempted my question. I wondered what it meant to you as a dad to see how much animals mean to her after having them around her for so much of her young life.
It bears out everything that I think we noticed about her as a very young child. She has a very special relationship with animals. It's a gift that she has to be able to communicate and care for animals, and vice versa. And I think this means a lot to us. Both of our daughters have no particular interest in the news business, in literature, in any of the things by which I have ostensibly made a living. But I think maybe a spark of care for animals that both my wife and I share has been passed.
You have Daisy in your life now, who I believe is a poodle. And from your description, sounds like delightful company. I know from having Muesli the Schnoodle and Linus T. Cockapoo in my life that even the most delightful dogs can be puzzling at times. What would Scott Simon, the journalist, ask Daisy if she were more adept at English or French, perhaps?
Well, yes, thank you, Mitch. It would be French. And I mean, she's a French poodle, right? It's funny. As I explain in the book, I am our animal's interpreter. In other words, when I know what Daisy is thinking, so for example, when we walk her, I know she's saying to people, "Oh, I am cute, huh? You want to pet me, huh? Huh? So a couple of years ago, our daughters and my wife were out. It was at a horse ranch barn in California, and they met a pet psychic, and Daisy was with them. And they put Daisy into the arms of the pet psychic, who apparently Daisy was just absolutely relaxed from the moment she entered the woman's arms. They said, could you please ask Daisy what she thinks of the voice our father does for her? And the pet psychic, I have to admit, was very shrewd, because the pet psychic told our family, well, Daisy says it doesn't sound at all like her voice, but she knows that your father really enjoys it, so she says it's okay with her. What a brilliant answer. And I do think that Daisy and I have a special kind of empathy. So I try. If there was one question that I could ask her, it would probably be, what do you think of my accent?
And this is probably the same question I would ask Muesli the Schnoodle about her accent, which is that of an elderly Italian man who fought with the partisans in World War II.
Oh, my God. So it's a little bit like this?
Exactly like that, yes.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Mitch, we can do it. We can do it. I do think it's not surprising that we speak to our animals, but I do think those of us who love animals, we begin to hear them speak back. I mean, a lot of it might obviously be our own improvisation, but I think when you have a relationship that's grounded in empathy, you can make that leap occasionally, and then and that's certainly what I've tried to put into this book.
Well, Scott Simon, give Daisy and Gato and any other animals, not betta fish presumably, but give the animals in your life a scritch for all of us here in the North Country.
Oh, we absolutely will. We absolutely will.
Good to talk to you, and good on the Cubs for doing a number on the Mets this past weekend.
Yes, wasn't that something? Yeah, 1969 comes a little late, but still.
Be well, and I hope we talk again soon.
I hope so too.
Scott Simon is the longtime host of Weekend Edition Saturday on NPR and author of the brand new book, Ulysses S. Cat, which is essentially a memoir about him told, I guess obviously a memoir, his memoir written through the lens of the animals that he has known and loved through his life.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like I said, a really charming book, and in fairness, not a very long read. I think if you have a plane trip coming up, or
you're riding the train from Albany to New York City, for example,
pretty much that length, or at least maybe the round trip. But yeah, a charming book, and we get to know a lot of really entertaining dogs and cats and a turtle. Grasshopper.
I've never owned a turtle. I've always wanted rabbits. No one in my life has ever let me have rabbits. My parents were vehemently opposed to it, and now my girlfriend is opposed to it.
What does Aaron have against rabbits?
That they are messy or something. I don't know.
Plus, you have lost your hair. High five, Sylvia.
This interview is over. I don't know exactly what she has against rabbits. Maybe it's the mess thing, or maybe she's worried. I think it's primarily she's worried about how the rabbit will get along with our current pet, Ripley the cat. I don't know. I guess I'll probably never have a rabbit. I should just get over it. You've got 2 dogs, no cats.
We do have 2 dogs. We have Muesli, the schnoodle, the wisecracking schnoodle.
Who talks like?
Who talks like an elderly Italian man with a very high voice, and Linus the cockapoo, who loves nothing more than consuming my earwax.
Cardboard.
And cardboard. Yes, he does. He loves cardboard, and he loves digging in my ear with his tongue.
Yeah.
You let him do this?
Well, what are you going to do?
Not let him do it. What do you mean?
It makes him so happy. You should see his tail go crazy when he licks my ear. We have two pets around NCPR these days.
We do. We've got Pepper, who is extremely, extremely small, and then we have
at
Flo,
this point
who's
8 weeks old, a Havanese, and and like 4 pounds.
It's really delightful to see her next to Flo, who's a giant by comparison. My cat Ripley, who is the love of my life, other than Aaron, if she's listening to this.
Good catch.
Yeah, thank you. She is not the brightest cat that I've ever owned. She has, when you think about cats, you think about like their agility and their spatial awareness. She has neither of them. She has a really difficult time making the leap of 6 inches.
She's wearing those horn-rimmed glasses with the masking tape on the bridge.
Totally, you got her, yeah. And sometimes she doesn't really know where her fur ends and the blanket that she's sitting on begins. But we love her all the same.
Sylvie, do you have any pets? Oh, wait,
Well,
you have the same pets that I do. Yes. Sylvie
did
Tyke,
used to have-
my daughter, who will turn 22 soon.
Yes, I did used to have, I think it was in like 2nd or 3rd grade, we all had mealworms.
What a pet.
Well,
What did
and
you name it?
I had 2 of them. Well, because then they turned into beetles.
Uh-huh.
Whatever beetles mealworms turned into, I forget. No.
Ringo and...
No. I named them Laverne and Shirley.
That's right. Well, and an interesting coda to this, around that time, I interviewed a cartoonist named Hilary Price, who draws a comic strip called Rhymes with Orange, and often features, I believe, her cat in her strip. And I was actually telling her about this legendary moment. This all goes back. Before the interview, we were talking about high school, right? And so when I was a senior in high school, I was, surprise, editor of the school newspaper.
Shocking.
I'm not shocked, no.
Thank you. You guys are typecasting me.
Again, you walked
Yeah, I know. All
into
right,
it.
fine. Okay. Anyway, one of the things that I did towards the end of my senior year is I wrote to a whole bunch of people who were significant cultural figures at the time, asking them for their advice to graduating seniors. One of them was Bill Watterson, who drew Calvin and Hobbes. And Bill Watterson actually wrote back to me.
No kidding. What did he say?
He wrote back to me and said, my advice to graduating seniors is go home and put an axe through your television set. And because at the time, this was 1987, there was no internet, so the TV was the opiate of the masses at the time. And so I was telling Hilary Price this story, and she signed a book to me, and in doing it, she drew a picture of, as I recall, a beetle who I told her about driving an axe through a television set.
Nice.
I love that.
Because the beetles were our only pets at the time.
I'm sure I had a betta fish. I was big on the betta fish. We had a little betta fish graveyard in our side yard.
And betta fish, for people who don't know, are fish that are still in the testing phase.
Funny.
Actually, Scott Simon's book, to bring things back, he writes about betta fish that his family had, and and likewise, very many of them passed away over the years. That's all.
I will share one.
Wow.
I'll share one pet death story, and then we're going to wrap this up.
Good.
It's
You'll
going
come
to
for
a
the interview.
dark
You'll stay for the
place.
pet death story.
On Christmas Day, I woke up to find that my hamster was dead, but my parents were worried about how I would react, so they didn't actually let me see the body. So they just said, "Oh, your hamster died of a heart attack." And my brother told me years later, he said, "Yeah, it died of a heart attack when the cat ripped its head off."
Oh.
Hamsters have you ever seen a hamster die of old age? I feel like they all
No.
they die. I remember being traumatized by a story of a hamster eating another hamster.
Ew.
When I was I remember this vividly. I know you said this was going to be the end, but we were in New York City. And my aunt still feels really bad about this 15 years later. She was telling us...
You were 5 years old.
I thought
or
I was
something.
7,
Yeah.
but we were eating dumplings in this apartment, and somebody...
They were hamster dumplings.
Right. Where's this going?
I just remember that we were eating dumplings because it was
Yep.
Dumpling Man dumplings.
Yep.
And she was talking. It was she was talking about, I don't know, some hamster.
There was a hamster that died.
A hamster that died because it was eaten by another hamster, and I
Burst into tears.
burst into tears and had to be taken outside to the courtyard and was inconsolable. And apparently we still both...
I thought we were in New York.
Wah, wah.
I was trying to end on a happier note. Ethan, who produces this show? Thank you, Sylvie Tyke. Sylvie Tyke, ladies and gentlemen, my daughter. Ethan Shanty, producer at large. Take us out.
Northwards is an NCPR podcast production. The show is written, produced, and edited by Mitch Tyke with digital production supervision by me. I'm Ethan Shanty. Our theme music is by the Wickmore Jazz Trio of Plattsburgh. Bill Hanel is our director of digital services, and Anna Williams-Bergen does other stuff.
Social media.
She does our social media. To learn more about this show, visit ncpr.org/northwards. This is NCPR North Country Public Radio.